And good afternoon, yo. Welcome back to another episode of the Unspoken Rules podcast. I am your host, Sebastian, aka Rabbit. I'm here with the one, the only Montana, aka Wildcard. How you doing, brother? Good to see you again.
Good morning, sir. It is good to be right again.
I mean, we'll get into that, but yes, you are correct in a lot of things. But episode 30. I'm surprised that we're even here this far. I know it's been a while, at least this episode, but with not much to talk about recently, you guys just got to give us some a break. But congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks as they did end up finishing the Phoenix Suns in 6 games, as you mentioned, as you called, you were correct, and so we'll get into that right now. But let's have a great show, Montana. Got us into it.
Alrighty. So, as you mentioned before, the Milwaukee Bucks are the new 2021 NBA champions. First time the franchise has won an NBA championship in 50 years. They won 105-98. The Milwaukee Bucks were led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, who won NBA Finals MVP this year with 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 2 assists. I'm sure we'll get into whether or not that is the greatest NBA Finals closeout performance of all time. I'm sure I would like to get your opinion on that. His supporting cast between Chris Middleton, who had 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, who had some clutch shots towards the end of the fourth quarter, and Drew Holiday, who had 12 points, 11 assists, and 9 rebounds, almost had a triple double. And then bench scoring from Bobby Portis, who had 16 points and 3 rebounds, and Brook Lopez, who had 10 points and 8 rebounds. That was enough to get the scoring done for the Milwaukee Bucks in this championship win. And as far as the Phoenix Suns go, a lot of question marks to be had for this team as they head into the offseason. Chris Paul had 26 points, 5 assists, and 2 rebounds. Devin Booker had a subpar game yesterday, 19 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds. Clearly was not good enough to get the job done. DeAndre Ayton had 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 assist. And Jay Crowder, who I cannot believe did not do this for us for the Miami Heat last year, had 15 points and 13 rebounds. That's good numbers for a supporting cast player. And then the only other double-digit scorer was Cameron Payne with 10 points. So, Sebastian, what are your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns blowing a 2-0 lead and the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA Finals for the first time in 50 years?
So to start, obviously, I want to just give a congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks organization as a whole. First, in 50 years since 1971, if I'm not mistaken, it's just an absolute, great feeling, I guess, especially for those players. But that organization as a whole is probably feeling so much happiness right now. I know there was 65,000 fans outside of the arena, just sitting there watching that game and just ready to celebrate. So, credit to them. Also want to credit that front office for really, locking in Giannis Antetokounmpo for 5 years with that contract, as well as bringing in Drew Holiday to add to this squad. And then mid-season, signing PJ Tucker. Yes, the man scored 0 points multiple times, this playoff run, but the man was a huge defensive, asset for this squad. So credit to him and credit for the entire organization for adding the pieces that they needed to surround Giannis with. Because ultimately, what happened 8 months ago. I think we all know exactly what happened, and that was that the Miami Heat, cooked the Milwaukee Bucks. And what ended up happening and leading to that, they got the players that they needed to put around Giannis and ultimately be successful and win a ring. So credit to them for getting these players and solidifying their ring. Shout out to your boy Pat Connaughton. I know that's a Notre Dame. Yeah, they know he's a Notre Dame guy, so I figured I'd just shout that out really quick for you. But to answer your question, look, that performance, at least this postseason, right, was probably one of the most legendary postseason runs, to say the least, from the Milwaukee Bucks. Not only did they do it with, I guess we could say 3, but two All-Stars, 1 superstar. It's just very very shocking compared to what we've seen from other teams win championships as of late. And so it just goes straight credit to Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially with that closeout, like you mentioned, entering the topic. Probably one of the greatest closeout games, not even in a series, but in the finals. I'm just shocked. The man went 17 for 19 from the free throw line. Missed two free throws. Go ahead.
Giannis officially joins the Bob Pettit as the only other player to score 50 points in an NBA Finals closeout game.
Lord Jesus Christ. I don't even know what else to say. The man clearly wanted it. The man was so dedicated. After they beat the Nets, I think you could see it in his eyes, even after he got injured, that this man wanted this more than anything. And I mean, he said it in his interview, I guess, when right before he got announced as the MVP. He mentioned how at dinner it was extremely awkward between him and his brothers because Kostas got the ring with the Lakers last year, and him and what is it, Giannis, both were just sitting there, ringless and not knowing what to really talk about and what to do. And so now each and every, this is like the Ball brothers, but this is what LeVar planned but didn't work out. And now you got it in the Antetokounmpo brothers. Every single one of them, minus the one that's about to come into the league, have a ring. So listen, credit to them, because at the end of the day, they won. I know I'm talking way too much. I apologize.
No,
but to answer your question, finally, after all of that, how do I feel? I mean, I'm not shocked. Now, obviously, I wanted the Suns to win, and I was saying Suns in 6, but I'm not shocked. One, it's entirely on the Suns' fault for folding in 2 of the last, 3 games. They had a very big lead, or not a huge lead, but they had a lead.
47-42 at half in this game.
Yeah, even at this game, too. They had a lead at one point in all of these games and ended up losing it ultimately down the stretch in crunch time. Either were non-existent or, like last game, we saw Devin Booker sell the bag and Drew Holiday get that steal in Phoenix and just, ultimately giving all the momentum to finish Game 6 last night. But, I mean, look, at the end of the day, the Milwaukee Bucks, like I've said multiple times, maybe not on the podcast, but they had one of the most prolific runs I've seen in quite some time. For a team to go, mind you, after this game, they finished 10-1 at home is beyond me. That I have not seen that number in God no. I don't even have to. I'd have to do research to really figure that out. But I haven't seen that number or a team defend home court like that in a while. And to think that their only win was or their only loss was against Atlanta, and it really should have been a win, but they just sold. Then that's a whole different conversation in its own self. It's just admirable to I guess their coaching staff. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Big Mike, but hey, man, those players did what they wanted to do to win this game. Now, when it comes down to the Suns, I mean, there's a lot of things that we could talk about, that we could say about the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker didn't show up, as he's used to, at least the last 2 games.
I thought he was the next Kobe, man. I thought he was the next Kobe.
I mean, brother, for him to drop 2 40-point games and not get wins out of that, it's like the LeBron James moment where LeBron did the same exact thing a couple of years back. And once you have those 2 L's after 40-point performances, there's only so much that you can do. You know what I'm saying? There's literally, you can put so much effort into doing all of this.
He's gotta get that Be Legendary tattoo lasered off his wrist, because he's not living up to that.
I think it's the complete opposite. But I know you know there's gonna be slander, so I'm not tripping too much about it. You have all the right to talk. But I think
Chris Paul turned into Cliff Paul yesterday.
I mean, he had 26. I mean,
the whole series.
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Cliff Paul.
But when it comes down to this Phoenix Suns team, I mean, I think if anything, yes, they lost in the NBA Finals and sold the 2-0 lead. Sorry, but if anything, I feel like they should be deserving, some credit. I think it comes down to, everyone's going to say that it's a Mickey Mouse. They had the easiest route to the NBA Finals. All these injuries that they had to that they had against them or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, they won those games and took advantage. There's no question behind it. There's no other conversation that you can have. They won the games to get to where they were. I think they deserve the credit rather than, oh, the Phoenix Suns team is ass, oh, this, oh, that. At the end of the day, this was their first ever playoff appearance for Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, Cam Johnson. I don't even know if maybe Cameron Payne has the OKC experience, but those like young core that they have in Phoenix, for them to play the way they did this entire postseason and to get to where they were and where they, ultimately did, which was 6 games in the NBA Finals, I think they can be happy with that result. To finish second in the West, something not a lot of people thought they were going to do, and then ultimately finish second in the entire NBA and come as the runner-up in the NBA Finals. Yes, it stings, it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck that they lost. But I think you have to keep your head high and, moving forward, hopefully it gives them that experience that they need to, I don't know, maybe potentially win a ring soon. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing I want to really mention before you take over is it's going to be a hell of an awkward, about 20-something hour flight for Devin Booker because he's got to be in a private jet by himself with Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. So, go ahead.
Are they leaving? Is it Drew Holiday and Chris
Middleton leaving? They're leaving. Right, I don't know, but what I heard, what I heard is that they have to take a flight Friday. So tomorrow, well, 2 days. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I know they have to take a flight by Friday. If not, I think they'll obviously miss, whatever the case may be. But yeah, if they are on the same flight, it's just going to be an awkward plane ride, period. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead.
All right. As far as that goes, all right. So here we go. The Milwaukee Bucks. I knew this was going to happen. The Bucks are clearly the better basketball team than the Phoenix Suns. I called the Bucks in 6, and I was right. And I'm always right about things like this because I'm an NBA genius. That's all it is at that point. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 50 points. One of the best performances I've ever seen from a basketball player in a closeout situation. Everyone's going to say, oh, well, how about Michael Jordan scoring 45 against the Utah Jazz in Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals where he hit that clutch shot? Yeah, that was a great performance, but I've never seen someone so dominant in the paint, finesse-wise, defensive-wise. The guy was shooting free throws like he was a marksman free throw shooter. He played his heart out, and he played for the city of Milwaukee. He said when he signed that contract extension, he basically committed to winning a championship in Milwaukee no matter what, and he did that. The Milwaukee Bucks should be proud to have him on their team. They should be proud of him and Chris Middleton, who stuck with them through 8 years to get to this point. That's something special. There's nothing. That's continuity right there. That's grinding and effort and doing all the little things to make sure that you become a winning basketball team. So they deserve all the credit due their way. They carry their team, this franchise, on their backs to an NBA title, and it's clearly worked for them. And see how the rest of their careers move on from here. But this might be just the first of many NBA titles in their future. Drew Holiday played decently well. I would still believe he's really inconsistent because one game he can go off for 30 points and the next will score 10 points. But he did what he needed to do on his role yesterday, and that was make timely shots, distribute the basketball, and he almost had a triple-double. So that was important for the Milwaukee Bucks. Without the 12 points, they would have lost the game. So there's that. Chris Middleton hit clutch shot after clutch shot towards the end of the game, especially that one shot with under a minute. I believe it was a 4-point lead for the Milwaukee Bucks. Middleton pulls up for a 2-pointer and nails it like he's done throughout the whole entire playoffs. So that was another clutch shot for Giannis. Giannis was clearly tired in that last minute of the basketball game. As I mentioned before, his free throw shooting was impeccable yesterday. You can't script that any better than that's some fantasy stuff right there. And if without the free throw shooting and without all those free throws that he made, the Phoenix Suns would have won that basketball game because, I mean, I don't know what to say. He only shot 20 free throws and he made, 90% of the free throw shots? That's pretty crazy if you ask me. especially for a guy that's notoriously been missing tons of free throw shots throughout the playoffs. It's clearly he was focused and locked in to hit these shots like he was not before. So there's credit for him for that. And I expect him to improve on the free throw shooting in the offseason and as he gets ready to move into the next season. So there's that. As far as the Phoenix Suns go, Devin Booker, I don't know what he has to do going into the offseason. That he has, I don't know necessarily think that he was the problem for the Phoenix Suns. I'm looking more at guys that did not show up in the biggest moments, like guys like DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, who even if he did have 26 points yesterday, pretty much did not show up in the fourth quarter at all. Those guys need to reevaluate what they're doing as they move in towards the next season. Obviously, we look at Chris Paul, who I don't know if he should opt out of that contract or not. He's making almost $45 million next season. That's going to be something that hampers the Phoenix Suns in their offseason plans. So whether or not he opts out is going to be a question. What do you think about that? You're muted, sir.
My fault. I don't know. It's definitely a toss-up. It's definitely going to be an interesting offseason, to say the least, with a lot of, people going, potentially a lot of different places. So I don't know. I feel like this is going to be a very impactful offseason for a lot of different teams. And so, I mean, although I would love, Chris Paul to potentially right back, the question for the Phoenix Suns is, are those players going to step up, like you mentioned? Is this experience what they needed to help them, later down the line, actually be impactful players and kind of change the way that they played this year? And so we'll have to see. I mean, bro, I was hyping up Aiden. The man was on like a beautiful streak of 50% plus shooting from the field. I think it was like 15 straight games. And ultimately in the finals, it just scattered. It just disappeared. The man just, I don't know what it was.
Disappeared throughout the
It
finals.
was, what the hell happened. I don't know what it was, but I just did not see the regular DeAndre Ayton that I'm accustomed to. Does it come down to Dario Saric getting injured and having Monty have to go to a smaller rotation, meaning Ayton have to play more minutes? And did that end up taking a toll on his body? Maybe. But at the end of the day, you're a professional athlete. Your body should be accustomed to going small in the sense of your rotation, running 7-man, 8-man, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of questionable things as to what exactly went down with DeAndre Ayton, but it is what it is. I can't knock him too much. Again, this is his first playoff appearance, and so he had a great run. Ultimately in the finals, it just wasn't, it wasn't going their way, and it just wasn't meant to be. So, I mean, there's nothing much else to it for the Phoenix Suns in that aspect.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know DeAndre. I think he needs to get into the weight room and put the muscle on that body, because we look at what Giannis was able to do, bullying him down low. There's no reason for DeAndre Ayton to get bullied by Giannis in the paint. That has to change next season. He needs to put on more muscle, and he needs to improve on his mid-range shot, and maybe even add a 3-point shot to the arsenal, because he could be a really dangerous center if he works on those parts to his basketball game. And especially if he gains weight and he becomes bigger in size, and he be able to enforce his dominance in the paint, because he showed throughout the playoffs that he can be a special player, defensively and offensively. He's gotta put it together. At that point, I don't think the Phoenix Suns should be looking to trade DeAndre Ayton. I've heard some rumors about that. Or I've seen some fans clamor that they need to trade DeAndre Ayton for an established center. I don't think that's the case at all. I think DeAndre Ayton needs to stay on the team. He needs to just work on the things he needs to work on and get better for the next season. This guy, Devin Booker and Ayton, I don't want to make any comparisons because they haven't done it yet, but they have the potential to be Shaq and Kobe. That's how good they can be together if they get it right. Especially if Chris Paul is there again next season. I believe he should opt out of that contract, and I believe he should think about, man, I'm at the later stage of my career. What is more important to me now, money or winning a championship? Because he was this close to winning a championship this year. If he takes a pay cut, a massive pay cut, say he makes somewhere around 15 million next year, that frees up a ton of cap space for the Suns to go after players to fill
Mm-hmm.
those holes that they desperately need to fill, especially on the bench and maybe even in the starting lineup. They could add another star piece. That's you could create a super team in Phoenix. Honestly, you
Mm-hmm.
could,
No,
but
100%.
it's all gonna depend on Chris Paul and whether or not he um, wants to win or he wants to take the money again. Because obviously, I believe they're a few pieces short of winning being able to compete for a championship next season. I don't believe the Phoenix Suns. I mean, obviously they could get back to there next year, but it's going to be a lot harder next year if we think about all the teams that are getting healthier and a lot of teams that are coming back next season, like the Warriors, like the Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. A lot of teams are get stronger, healthier, better next season. So the Suns have their work cut out for them if they want to make it back to the NBA Finals. As far as the Milwaukee Bucks go, they have a hard task at hand too. They were 1 inch away from Kevin Durant sinking them in the second round. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Trey Young, an injury in the third round. The Milwaukee Bucks are definitely they need to look at themselves in the mirror and think, oh man, are we going to be able to repeat next year with all these teams coming back stronger, with the Atlanta Hawks coming back stronger, Brooklyn Nets if they can stay healthy next season. Who knows what other Eastern Conference teams like the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat are going to do in the offseason to bolster their squads. There's going to be a lot of question marks for them going into the offseason as well. Now, yeah, they won the championship, but them and the Phoenix Suns got to the finals off a bunch of injuries in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting for these two teams as they look into next season and whether or not they have enough firepower to get back to the NBA Finals.
No, I mean, you literally hit everything that I was going to say. So, I mean, there's nothing else to it. Like you mentioned, a bunch of injuries happened this year, and a bunch of teams are going to come back way stronger. And so it's a question for both teams. Are they going to be able to compete? Like you said, Kevin Durant, that shot he himself thought was a 3, ended up being a 2, cost them the series. Um, Kawhi Leonard getting injured, in your eyes, you thought was the difference maker and potentially cost them the series. And so, I mean, it's very unfortunate to say the least, to see all these injuries occur. But I think, at least from Milwaukee's end, in my eyes, now this is no shot at Milwaukee. In my eyes, and I think a lot of NBA fans can agree, if the Brooklyn Nets were healthy, 1, that series doesn't go to 7, and 2, the Milwaukee Bucks don't get here. So credit to them taking advantage of the situation that they were placed in. Now, the same thing goes for the Phoenix Suns. I just don't know. My problem with the West, at least how it ended up being, um, I don't know exactly if Kawhi is playing, and this is no shot at PG, but the way that Kawhi was playing before his injury and the way that PG was playing, I don't think PG is suited as a second man. I think PG plays way better as the man of the team. And so for his sake, I don't think Kawhi being there would have helped them and led them to the championship. I still think they would have lost. But, that's a whole different conversation in itself. But with the Nuggets getting healthy, with Jamal Murray coming back, AD hopefully getting healthy, LeBron, his ankle getting healthy, I think we'll see it completely. Obviously, you mentioned the Warriors. I think the Warriors right now are my sleeper team to make the NBA Finals next year. And this is a very, very early call, I guess you could say, but I would not be surprised if the Golden State Warriors make the NBA Finals next year. That I'm just going to leave that mark right now. And we can talk about that a different episode or whatever the case may be. But that's pretty much all I really have to say. I saw some rumors, but I don't know how I really feel about bringing them up. But I'll just mention a little bit is that the Pelicans are looking into not bringing back Lonzo Ball at all. They're already looking into sign and trade deals, which would now mean that the Pelicans are losing Josh Hart because he doesn't want to go back. They don't want to bring back Lonzo, and BI is probably out of there. So now the Pelicans are down to Zion Williamson and trying to build around him with no young core. So I don't know what the Pelicans are really going to do, but they do definitely have a rough task at hand to overcome potentially losing all of their pieces that they traded for Anthony Davis.
Yeah, of course. Before we move on to the last topic of today's show, Sebastian, I believe you got some Sebastian's rapid fire stats.
I do, in fact, have some. Rapid, whatever the heck it's called. My fault. All right. To start off, although it kind of doesn't make sense now that the game is over, the Bucks at the time were seeking their first championship in 50 years and would be the second team in NBA history to overcome multiple 2-0 or 2-0 series deficits in a single postseason. The Bucks overcame a 2-0 deficit versus the Nets and obviously the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker's 82 points in his last two NBA Finals games are the most by any player, who lost consecutive games in a final series, surpassing LeBron James and Mr. John Havlicek's 80 points. The Bucks and Suns combined for 7 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. That is tied for the most turnovers in the first 5 minutes of a finals game over the last 25 postseasons. In the first quarter, Giannis had 10 points with the entire Suns starting lineup finishing with 11. Jrue Holiday shot 1 for 11, 9.1% in the first half, the second worst field goal percentage in the first half of the NBA Finals game over the last 25 years, with Dirk Nowitzki shooting 8.3%, 1 for 12 in the first half of Game 6 in the 2011 NBA Finals against, of course, the Miami Heat. Giannis gets his 12th game this postseason with 30 points and 10 rebounds. That tied with Elgin Baylor for the second most in a single postseason of the NBA history. Only, obviously, Shaq with 13 had more. Prior to Giannis scoring 20 points in a quarter twice this series, the last player with 20 points in a finals quarter was Michael Jordan in 1993. Giannis is the first player with 40 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 blocks in any playoff game since Shaquille O'Neal in 2001. Giannis is the first player to record multiple 30-point halves in a single NBA Finals over the last 40 years. Giannis, I have 2 or 3 more stats. Giannis is the first player with a 50-10-5 in a playoff game since blocks were first tracked in 1973-1974. The last time a player had 50-10-5 in a regular season game was Anthony Davis in 2018. Now, Giannis is the 7th player in NBA history to have 50 points in the finals. The last 2, LeBron James in 2018, and of course, my GOAT, Michael Jordan in 1993. Sorry. Were you going to say anything?
No.
Giannis scored 47.6% of the Bucks' points last night. Sorry. That is the 4th highest in an NBA Finals game in the shot clock era. The only players with a higher percentage during that span, Michael Jordan and Elgin Baylor. Over the last 50 years, only 2 players have scored 33 points and a half of a finals game, Giannis and, of course, the GOAT Michael Jordan. Now I have 2. Sorry. Giannis is the only player, this was crazy to me. Giannis is the only player in NBA history with 5 All-Star selections, 5 All-NBA selections, multiple MVPs, 1 Finals MVP, and 1 Defensive Player of the Year before his 27th birthday. And to finish all of this up, Giannis is the 9th player to win multiple MVPs and a final MVP in his career. The only other players to do this at the age of 26 or younger are Tim Duncan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now I'm done.
That's it for Sebastian's rapid fire stats.
Yes, sir.
All right, Sebastian, take us into our last topic of today's show.
Okay. Now, I don't know exactly what is going down or what is exactly going to happen, but the head of Olympics will not rule out late cancellation of games due to, of course, COVID-19 and a spike that they've slowly seen in attendees / also players that are going to be participating in the games. According to the organizers, they announced on Tuesday that a total of 71 people were accredited for the games, have tested positive for the virus this past month. And due to a delay rollout in Japan, only 34% of all citizens in the country have received either a full or partial dose of the COVID-19 vaccine as of July 19th. And so, I mean, look, there have been 3 times in history that the Summer Olympics has been canceled. I think I have here 1916 due to World War I, 1940 and 1944 because of World War II. And so, look, I'm hoping that this doesn't happen. I'm hoping that, we're able to see some Olympics happening, because I think we all love the Olympics when it comes to whatever you watch. And it's enjoyable, to say the least. And it's just the fact that this is a potential cancellation, especially 3 days, or sorry, it might be 2 days now before the opening ceremony. It kind of sucks, that we're even in this predicament and having this conversation. I'm hoping that the cases, fall and we don't have to cancel it. But at the end of the day, everybody's safety is way more important than the Olympics. And it's unfortunate to say, because I know a lot of people work their butts off, and some people are, mid-20s, some early 30s, and this could be their only shot at the Olympics, if this is their first Olympics or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, like this is bigger than the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? So it's just very unfortunate, to say the least.
I'm still struggling to figure out why, if the Olympic Committee knew this was going to be a problem in Japan, why in the world they decided, hey, let's keep the Olympics here and not try to move it to somewhere else that has less of a COVID problem than they do in Tokyo right now at the moment. I know some countries are already saying, oh, we're not going to be staying in the Olympic Village at all, because I know the USA gymnastics team is going to be staying in a hotel off-site of the Olympic Village. So there's that. So some of the athletes are even taking precautions already as well. I know a lot of people are already there in Tokyo for the quarantine period. So yeah, it's different. It's definitely going to be interesting to see. I mean, especially if an athlete contracts the coronavirus, what the hell is going to happen to the athlete? And they're probably going to get disqualified from the rest of the Olympics. So someone's automatically, say if there's 2 people left in a certain competition, one person gets knocked out and they can't compete for the gold medal because they have COVID-19. That's an automatic win for an Olympian to get a gold medal, which I don't agree with at all. So at this point, I say they need to cancel the Olympics, or at least postpone it again until next year, until things calm down a little bit and we get fans back, because that's what makes the Olympics special, is having fans there. It's not going to be the same without the fans.
No, 100%. And I think it just comes down to basically just a similar situation. Like, you have no intention of really knowing. Yes, I guess in Japan, it's their cases is, with the whole 34% of either having partial dose or full dose. But at the end of the day, we can look at the Copa America and we can look at the Euro Cup. You know what I'm saying? Cases rose like tremendously in Brazil, for example. There weren't that many cases in Brazil, and it instantly spiked to 166. And so it's unfortunate. Yes, 166 may not be a lot, but to go from where they were as a country to then the Copa America coming and increasingly, seeing numbers in COVID cases, is just very unfortunate, to say the least. We could also even talk about the Euro Cup. Same thing with the Euro Cup. They saw an increase in COVID cases. I don't know the exact numbers, but they still saw it. So it's kind of out of our control in that aspect. It's to be in the situation where we are with Corona. It's very, like, not scary, but it's very unfortunate, because you can take all these precautions, you can take all these shots or whatever the case may be, and for some reason people are still managing to get the COVID. And I don't know what we're gonna do. Like you said, I think we should just cancel it overall. It sucks for a lot of people being their first time. or whatever. But at this point, for our safety and for everyone's safety in the
For
entire
the
world,
athletes.
not even our safety, for the athletes' safety. Sorry, and everybody just that will be working the Olympics. I think it's best that we just postpone it for now.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be definitely an interesting topic, and we'll see within the next week what happens and what doesn't happen. So besides that, I think that's gonna be it, my friend, for Unspoken Rules number 30. I'm going to give you guys a preview of what's to come on this show. Obviously, at the beginning of the show, Sebastian said we are sorry for not providing enough content recently, but that's about to change. As we get ready for the NFL and college football seasons, I know the SEC had their media day a couple days ago. The NFL training camps are starting next week. I know some players are already starting to arrive at training camp. I saw a picture of Ben Roethlisberger arriving at his training camp for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So starting tomorrow, we're going to start rolling out our division previews for the NFL. We're going to start with the AFC East first, so be on the lookout for that tomorrow at some point at 1 o'clock Eastern time. But besides that, if you guys haven't already, follow on Apple and Spotify. Leave a rating and review. If you guys are watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment as it helps the YouTube algorithm and helps more people find our show. Besides that, you guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Wildcard Movies. Sebastian, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at RabbitFL everywhere. Quick note though, just got some breaking news. I guess we can slander the Dolphins tomorrow, but apparently Nick Saban now claims that when the Dolphins didn't sign Drew Brees in March 2006, Saban then decided, I'm getting out of here. I'm not staying here. And once that happened, he decided the NFL just wasn't for him.
Trash organization. That's what
So I guess we'll talk about that tomorrow.
All right. We'll get into the AFC East tomorrow. Previews for the Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, Miami Dolphins, and the New York Jets. So be on the lookout for that. Besides that, I will be back tomorrow. So Sebastian and Blake will also be returning tomorrow as well. So this is going to be it for Unspoken Rules number 30, and we will see you guys later. Peace.